order the Claremore Cultural Development Authority meeting. Sarah, please call the roll.
Cottom. Here. Bellman. Michael.
Present.
Calendar. Long.
Yes, here.
Eslick. Bolden.
Yeah, we do.
Here. McSpadden. Irwin. Here.
If you'll join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation by Pastor Metcalf.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Father, I thank you for the weekend we just came through and the promise that your resurrection brings. I thank you for this country that we live in that allows us to honor you in prayer and obedience. I thank you for the freedoms we all have as we live in this country. I thank you for this council and their willingness to serve this great city. There are times when decisions have to be made that are not the easiest to make or understand. May you grant them wisdom and discernment. May the decisions they make be bathed in prayer and honoring for all citizens of this city. Father, for those who come to speak, I pray that their words will be filled with your grace, that they will only speak that which builds each other up, as your word commands us. May your mercy be heard. May the word spoken that of the community be of community, not of division. May they take into account the gifts and the rights of the people of this world. And may you help us seek you for our decisions and leadership. Bless each of these counselors and their families. Bless and watch over Mayor Long and her family, the city manager, John Fury, and his family. The role of both are often misunderstood, but as you have done in the past, may you watch over them, help them as they continually follow your lead. May we never take for granted the freedoms you have given us, and may we respect all as we expect to be respected. And I pray your covering over this meeting and this day in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Do we have anybody for call to the public?
A few.
Okay. And before we start the call to the public, there's some general rules that need to be followed, and our city attorney will go over those with you.
Hello, everyone. I know we have quite a few people here that want to speak tonight, so I'm going to go over the rules once. If anyone's having a hard time hearing me, just let me know. This is a public meeting that is obviously open to the public, and the council has opened it up to allow members of the public to speak. However, there are rules in place for those who choose to speak. So, especially given the number of people we have here tonight, public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Also, just, general civility applies, no profanity, nothing like that. And the other thing is, because this is a public meeting, we have a quorum, a majority of the governing body here. They can listen to your comments, but they cannot respond to them. They can't answer questions. That would be a violation of the Open Meeting Act. We have the city clerk that will be running a timer to make sure everyone sticks to that 3-minute rule. So if you hear a beeper go off, that's going to mean that your time is up and it'll be the next speaker's opportunity to speak. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started with the first person.
Okay. Hilke Buckinger.
I would like to wait until a couple of other comments, if okay.
You need to speak now. We don't go in a certain order.
You can either pull your name or speak now, ma'am, in the order you signed up.
So I have.
Oh, can you come up to the podium?
You
Yeah.
can come
Sorry.
up here, ma'am, so it's easier to hear.
And just give us your name.
Hilka Buckinger. So I have understood that Claremore leadership is considering having pride events in the park here and allowing public pride events. And the meeting started with prayer in Jesus' name. And if you really want to follow the Word of God, that kind of activities will not be allowed here and will not be promoted here. And you just need to read, for instance, Romans chapter 1, you know exactly what God's Word says. And I also want to comment about the confusion in today's society. So that kind of activities will not contribute to build up a society, but rather to confuse people, to confuse young people, to confuse children. And my sister, I come from Finland, you might hear it. My sister-in-law is a medical doctor, leader for medical doctors in a pretty big town in Finland. Medical doctors for school system and educational system. And she says that today, 18-year-olds and younger, they are totally confused. And that is probably more than true in this country. And I really advise you not to allow such things and to allow more confusion in the society and of the young people, and not go against what God's word clearly states.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next one is Amber Ellis.
Amber Ellis.
There's someone coming from the back, I think.
Is she here?
Yeah, she's coming from the back.
I can't see her.
Go ahead, start whenever you like.
Okay, so I left off last week and I had part two, but it's been completely changed. I have emailed several of you, and the main, I think, response that I'm getting back is you have to go along with what the laws are. So I think somebody's going to read this whole thing, but I think you need to look under section 133.06, 133.09, 133.10 of the City of Claremore's ordinances. And also, elected members of the council, based on responses received, I understand the general consensus of the council is there's nothing you can do to the provisions in our city character which outline your authority and duties. This could not be farther from the truth. This council has the ability to create ordinances, and I humbly request our city ordinance regarding adult entertainment be amended to match that of Ponca City, Tara, and several other municipalities throughout Oklahoma. This ordinance defines adult entertainment and adult performances and reads as follows. Adult amusement or entertainment which is distinguished or characterized by an emphasis on acts or material depicting, describing, or relating to sexual conduct or specified anatomical areas as defined herein, including but not limited to topless or bottomless dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators, or similar entertainment. This would help keep adult entertainment in adult places, which it's common knowledge that drag queen story time, drag queen car wash, LGBTQ youth library, this will be a pornography section for children. This is absolutely unacceptable, and each one of you, I think, are in a position that you can do something, and I think you're called to do something, especially if you say in God we trust and you call yourself conservative Christians.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Beverly Jennings.
Beverly Jennings.
I'm Beverly Jennings. I have passed out to you a statement from the Rogers County GOP with 47 signatures opposing the Pride Festival. There are at least 32,000 more Rogers County GOP members who have indicated agreement with this, with our party tenets and local codes against lewd and obscene activity in public. We request that this statement I passed out be recorded with the minutes of this public meeting as a permanent record of our position. We have at least 5 city codes against profane signs, lewd and obscene conduct, indecent exposure, and harmful deception. These laws are already in place and they're on your information. Pride festivals are the effort of a national organization called USA Prides that exploits vulnerable people who are questioning their gender, urging them to become activists for a public display of aberrant sexual behavior under the guise that exposing the public to this kind of debauchery will promote acceptance and understanding of transgenderism. This violates Code 13317, harmful deception. These events target children with games like cornhole and bingo, but are hosted by men dressed in suggestive women's clothing and exaggerated makeup, dancing provocatively to music, and soliciting money, often from children, for their performances. And we have pictures of all of this. This has been happening across America for years and in Owasso since 2021. So this will be year number 1 for Claremore if you allow this, and they will never go away. Merchandise at the Owasso Pride Festival last year included keychains with the F word, mugs for sale with CUNT on them, and a throw pillow saying, "Whores live in this house." That violates 132.03. No one opposes the right to sexual expression between consenting adults in private, but we must protect the children who have no voice and the parents who are misled about the sinister undercurrents of this movement. I suggest our city return any fees that may have been collected for this event and point the organizers to their own website's instructions for putting on a pride event, which say, if you expect protesters, hold this event on private property. That website is in the papers that I handed you. Let's educate our local businesses who think they are doing something good by supporting these people and their indoctrination of our youth. And let's help those in our city who are feeling disenfranchised to find meaningful life beyond their sexual identity. It is fulfilling and worthwhile to work alongside others on real social needs, like poverty and homelessness, as opposed to aligning themselves with a national group that brings nothing to our local community, but corrupts our youth, teaching them to parade their sexuality in front of innocent
Ma'am, your 3
children,
minutes is up.
calling
Thank you.
it pride. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie Rochelle. Good evening. Recently, I saw a Facebook post that had a logo that stated Claremore Pride established 2025. It made me stop and wonder, what exactly is this group claiming to establish in Claremore in 2025? According to a November 2024 article in Claremore Daily Progress, Rogers County Pride was started in late 2024, and one of its goals was to host its own Pride Festival in Claremore, June 2025. Founder Bob Sweet went on to say that he wanted to form a direct action group at the local, state, and national level. As part of that direct action group, he said, we must put some people in office who actually understand how to love other people, not just tear them down and destroy them. Seeming to imply if you don't agree with their agenda, then you don't actually understand how to love. He went on to say there's strength in numbers, and the more active people we have, the faster we can start working on attitudes in the county. Again, implying that those who do not hold the same values as LGBTQ community need their attitudes adjusted. I don't agree with the lifestyle of the LGBT movement, but if adults choose to live the lifestyle, it is their choice. However, it never stops there. It is not enough that they have a choice. The movement demands that everyone must be forced to agree with them. We're required to embrace the fallacy that men can be pregnant and breastfeed. Laws are being pushed in some states to remove children from their parents if they don't affirm surgeries. We're required to accept their opinion that there are over 70 plus genders. They demand we use pronouns. It is demanded that men be able to go into women's locker rooms. They demand same-sex marriage. It is demanded that inappropriate books sexualizing children be placed in libraries. It is demanded that sex change surgeries be paid via taxpayer dollars for prisoners. It is demanded that men who say they are women be placed in women's prisons where women are being raped and brutalized. It is demanded that biological women are forced to compete with biological men. For Pride in the Park with drag queen MCs being marketed as family-friendly event, to drag story hour for small children, to a paint party for a library space targeting teens, these are just a few of the recent activities posted on the Facebook page. My point is their objective is never satisfied. It's not about love and acceptance, it's about demanding that everyone conform to their way of thinking. I believe children and teens should be protected. Children are impressionable and should be able to grow up without being sexualized or groomed. This group is publicly proclaiming that their goal is to establish a pride movement in Claremore in 2025. They have an agenda. Let's stand up for the children in this community and say no to their agenda and no to Pride in the Park.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Michelle DeBoer.
So thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak. So I'll start off, what is your identity? Are you a coach? Do you act out like a coach? Are you an attorney? Are you a mom? Well, identity means a lot. And if you focus your identity solely on your sexuality, that will determine a lot of how you'll act in life as well. So there are books written by Dr. Christopher Yuan. Christopher Yuan was a homosexual, and he came out of the homosexual movement. He had been a drug dealer. He learned a lot about the LGBTQ community. And he went to become a minister. He went to Moody Bible School. And what he learned, and as he was seeking God, he said, the issue I had and all my LGBTQ friends had was we saw our identity solely in our sexuality. Some of us say our identity is in Christ, or my identity is in being a coach or an attorney or whatever. He said, but the problem with this group of people is their identity is in their sexuality. And when your identity is in your sexuality, that makes you act out in a different way than someone who says, well, I'm a coach. Coaches kind of act out, they're in their sweatsuits and everything, and they act like coaches, right? So here's the problem, is a highly sexualized community will act out in a highly sexualized way. And highly sexualized acting out is what we call adult entertainment. So you go to Las Vegas. No one under 21 can buy a ticket for adult entertainment in Las Vegas. Why? They will get sued if they let people younger come in and enjoy their adult entertainment. Well, what about the movie industry? There's an R-rated movie. Can kids buy tickets for an R-rated film? No. The movie industry doesn't want to be sued either. The movie industry says no children can buy an R-rated film ticket. That is adult entertainment. So my concern is, why is the city of Claremore opening up a park and allowing adult entertainment for the public when Las Vegas, their attorneys and all their hotels won't allow it, when the film industry won't do it, and yet our city is going to allow it? You're opening yourselves up to lawsuits. The film industry is not interested in them. Las Vegas isn't interested in these lawsuits. But you guys are opening yourselves up. And I think you should really consider what's happening there. So I'll just read from Ephesians 5, because God does direct. Oh, I guess I won't. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean Prosser.
Hello, my name is Sean Prosser. I run Havoc Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here in town. I've been a martial arts instructor for many years. I train some for law enforcement, military personnel, women, children. I've worked with rape victims. I've worked with children for 30 years. I moved here from California. Back in the early 2000s, when we were voting against these things, we knew that it would spread like a wildfire, and I had to pick up my family and move because we absolutely did that. It was pushed on the children. It was pushed on the kids in school. The whole target of the LGBT community is to go after children, to change and alter the minds of children. Transgender is nothing more than human sterilization and mutilization. We have seen the devastation throughout our country. I've been in fear for my female athletes, as many other coaches. Female wrestling is one of the fastest growing sports, and we watch females get brutalized by mediocre men entering into female sports, stripping away what is entitled to girls and what they deserve. If we don't stand up and protect our kids, no one will. And the biggest victim of these love prides, because it's not love, it's hate, the biggest victim of them is the children and the girls. If we don't protect them, and I've seen it, I've lived it, their society will change overnight and there's no going back. It's an agenda that's pushed by the left and the left-minded, and it's secretly disguised as love, and we all know that it's not. We've seen the devastation throughout our entire country. I witnessed the devastation. I've had to move from my home, pick up my entire family to go somewhere where it was a safe place to raise my kids. And my kids are grown, but I'm still here working with kids. I built the kids program at Triton Fight Center, some of the best programs in the entire area in Oklahoma. And we're all here to protect our kids, to protect our future leaders, protect their minds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly Coleman.
Before I start, I need 4 volunteers. Hand raise. There you go. Yeah. One more. There you go. Okay. Now, I was at the drag show, Drag Queen Story Hour, and there were a lot of signs there. And one sign impacted me the most. It said, Jesus never said that. So I looked into the Bible, God's Word, and said, hey, what did Jesus say? So if you turn to the pink page here, there are lots of Pharisees who brought in a prostitute, and they condemned her under the law. Said, so when they continued asking him for John chapter 8, verse 6, John chapter 8, verse 3, and the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, the very act. So, what did Jesus say? Verse 7, he that is without sin among you, let him cast a stone at her. The Pharisees pondered this, and one by one, they left. They didn't throw stones. Verse 11, verse 10, woman, where are those thine accusers? Has no one condemned thee? She said, no. Jesus said, neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. What is sin? What did the Pharisees understand about sin? This flag page. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Verse 29 of Romans 1. Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whispers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents. We are all under God's condemnation. But if you turn with me to the phone, in John chapter 3. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved from God's condemnation. Verse 18, he that believeth on him is not condemned. He that believeth.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Barbara Chris.
I would like to preface that I'm a doctor of education and have been in the field of education for a very long time. My husband signed up to serve our country for 22 years and endures disabilities for his service to protect our moral freedoms. 18 years of those service, I served beside him as a military wife doing duties as expected of me. We served our country because we wanted to uphold moral principles for our nation, which stands and states to be under God, not above him. Had anyone told us that we would be serving freedoms which would undoubtedly lead to the deprivation of minds or souls, we would have said no thank you. Take a poll around your community. Most of us living in Rogers County do not want to be the next California or New York State. Many of those are moving here to get away from there. Parts of the preamble of our Constitution say, "We the people," to ensure domestic tranquility and to provide secure of blessings. Those blessings come to us by God. Our pledge to even our American flag, which we just said we are one nation under God. Even the very money that we use to operate our nation and this county is "In God We Trust." This governing body has been elected to represent we the people of Rogers County under God. Our domestic tranquility cannot be achieved if this governing body continues to make decisions that promote organizations or agendas which certainly do not secure the blessings under God. How is exposing our children of Rogers County to sexual identity presentations in a public park keeping our community under God? And how do we expect to incur any blessings from this? Even our Oklahoma Department of State of Education says on their website, we are to be a cornerstone that engage children to make a lasting impact by investing in them to prepare them to be the next generation to lead and build a brighter tomorrow. Is the LGBTQI plus organization a lasting impact we want for the future of our children? Is that the future nation we want in this community? If so, it will no longer be under God. I ask this governing body, is it your goal to supersede that of the United States of America, our very own Constitution, or our state's educational system by allowing immorality transforming children through a sexual identity presentation in a public park? Let them have it, but not in public, not in a children's place. This is a delusion that is not going to uphold the majority of values of the citizen of Rogers County, as you can see from here. You voted to serve them. Pride in the park is nothing to be prideful about. It does not uphold the preamble of our Constitution, the pledge to our flag, and it defiles the currency in which we pay for elected official jobs. So in such an event, we're only exposing children to blasphemy of a holy God, undermining our country, city, state, and the educational goals, and we welcome corruption.
Thank you.
That was the last one.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the agenda as printed?
So moved.
I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Irwin? Yes. Cotton?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Do we have any items unforeseen?
None.
We have a motion to approve the consent items as printed.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Cotton? Yes. Long?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Irwin?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn in second. Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Cotton? Yes. Long?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Call to order the Claremore Public Works Authority meeting. Note the roll. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Colby?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Cotton? Yes. Michael?
Yes.
Long?
Yes. Any items unforeseen?
No.
We have a motion to approve the consent items as printed.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Cotton? Yes. Long?
Yes.
Irwin?
Motion to adjourn.
The motion to adjourn is second. Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Cotton?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Call to order the Claremore City Council meeting. Note the roll. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
Colby?
Yes.
Irwin? Yes. Cotton? Yes. Long?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Let's say, I think we were missing one, aren't we? Any items unforeseen?
No.
Under Mayor's Report and Appointments, I want to say I'm glad that Holly made it back.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I know she had to leave suddenly last meeting, and we're glad to have her here tonight.
Appreciate it.
I think that's all I have under Mayor's Reports. Awards and presentations and communications, none. Staff report, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. Very quickly, we are very excited. Last Friday at 2 o'clock, we gathered. The mayor and Councilor Michael and Councilor Claremore in attendance, but the State Highway 20 project is open all the way from the Will Rogers Turnpike back to the already 5-lane between Claremore and Owasso. So after many months, we're grateful for ODOT and the Turnpike Authority's involvement in that. And now we're looking forward to the next major project, which is the mill and overlay and restriping of Highway 66 and State Highway 88/Will Rogers Boulevard. So great turnout, really cool deal. So glad that's done. And I finally drove it Sunday immediately after church, but I couldn't see 10 feet in front of me, so it didn't really do me a lot of good. This Thursday is the Claremore Chamber of Commerce's Claremore Day at the Capitol. So people from all over Claremore will be in attendance down there if anybody is wanting to go. They set up in the rotunda and start about 10 a.m. and it's just kind of a milling around, and different legislators will stop by. So typically the J.M. Davis will be there, the Will Rogers Memorial, several partners. So it's always a good day to showcase the community down there at the Capitol. I am looking at, now that we've gotten past a few major milestones, looking at getting a time with the mayor to get the budget. Hey, there's Councilor Feldman. The budget passed, or I'm sorry, the budget presented at the second meeting in May is what our goal is. So to at least have the hearing and then potentially vote that night. The challenge is I'd like to be here on the vote, but the following meeting is the Chamber's DC fly-in, where Councilor Cottom and Councilor McSpadden will be in attendance with that as well. So that's what's going on. Just getting the budget prep. Should be coming to you with the draft of the audit, the last fiscal year's audit, very soon, and presenting that as well for the council for consideration. And this is the first year with Crawford and Associates, our previous treasurer retired, and then of course Hinkle and Company, the independent auditing company. So that's progressing along. Poor Susan in finance is very busy, plus dealing with FEMA and a few other issues there on that. So that is all I have, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Thank you. Under current business, do we have a motion to accept the consent items as printed?
So moved. Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Cottom?
Yes.
Feldman?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Bowlby?
Yes.
Item number 2, discussion and possible action on the city's insurance benefits renewal for fiscal year 2025-26. Mr. Gortney.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Been a year. Get to see you guys once a year. So I think some of this was just laid out in the council packet, just kind of high level. It's the renewal 7-1. We moved to a self-insured plan several years ago. Went to market this year. About 20 different A-rated or better carriers, TPA services, including Blue Cross, Aetna, Healthcare, and Edison. Open bid on pharmacy services on the PPM side, as well as an open bid on dental, life, vision, and those related coverages. So this year, we'll be moving the medical plan over to Edison Health as a TPA. We did secure a couple $100,000 of fixed cost reduction. So the cost for actual insurance and administrative services will go down with the hope too that we will be able to improve outcomes for your employees and the medical journeys and the medical experiences they have throughout the year. Any questions on any of that for me?
Madam Mayor, if I may, Ashley Hickman and HR's work on this. Every year we go out and we look at the best scenario possible. The biggest thing that we look for is to make sure that there is little to no impact on our on our insured. As you know,
Right.
we don't pay people a lot of money, but we do have, by state law, requires certain benefit plans to be made available. So the number one concern for me every year when we look at these is to make sure that our folks are not adversely impacted. So this transition allows us, most of our folks, or all of our folks, to keep their doctor. There's no adjustment in premiums, deductibles, or anything this year. So I think Dason's run a disruption report, and there was like 2 vendors in the whole state that that nobody here uses. So this is a transition away, but we're still a self-insured body. This is just who are we paying to administer those things versus Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
So Dason, I had a question on, I know we've been self-insured for a few years. How's that looking? I know it should be progressing upward a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the general claims trend is high for everyone. Pharmacy is the largest increasing factor for all plans. Specialty drugs, a lot of autoimmune drugs, Humira, Cosentyx, Dupixent, those show up on your plan just like every other plan that we see or talk to. So you guys feel kind of the same pressures as a lot of other plans, or in fact probably all plans. But I think what we're doing coming away from Blue Cross is allowing us some greater flexibility to help the city manage some of those costs and procure them in a better way while we still keep the patient experience and access to pharmacies and those things constant. So I think we'll be able to get our drug prices lower. Now the co-pays and things will stay the same for your employees, right? Then it's J&J,
Right.
Walgreens, all those are still in network, but I think we went to a bid process that allowed us to find places where we can get drugs cheaper through Pharos, the PBM. So that will replace Prime. But that's kind of the trend. So your medical claims have remained fairly constant over the last 6 years, but pharmacy has increased. And that's why we kind of focus on this pharmacy spend at the same time, allowing a few other, I think, benefits to your employees for access to higher levels of care.
Yeah, so having the availability to manage some of those costs will certainly help.
Right. We went self-insured to get control and clarity so that we could make decisions like this when we saw the data, and the data says this is the direction we need to go.
So have we seen any cost savings doing self-insured?
I would say that so that's a hard one to answer because we don't know what it would have been fully insured, but I can tell you that your increases under the self-insured plan have been lower than the market trend in the general market. So I would say the answer is yes, we've done a much better job under the self-insured plan than we had in the kind of at the will of the carriers in the previous years.
And with Edison Health, obviously you said there was very little disruption in the network, so does it still give the participants ability to go see? It still has a wide network.
So yeah, we will have a physician network, and yes, we ran all the analytics, so we were able to take claims, de-identified claims from the past, and run those through the system to see under this system versus the old system, what would the access be, and it was like 98% favorable. And the outliers were truly outliers. And we have a plan to work on those, to address that through negotiation or something like that, should it need to happen. But yeah, I think all of the pre-study analytics, everything we ran through the systems, and then put kind of a layer of common sense on top of that, because I think you can trust AI to a certain degree, and the systems, the analytics, and all that, but then you put the lens of clarity on it with common sense and practicality and understanding people here. This was, I think, the right move. It's going to give a lot of access to different providers than they've had in the past. So they'll still have the same access, but we now have another layer to get to for complex procedures or complex cases. We can take that to a different level, should they want to.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? We have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion to approve in second. Call the roll.
Irwin?
Yes.
Bowlby?
Yes.
Cottom?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Long?
Yes. Thanks, Tyson.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Item number 3, discussion and possible action on a contract with Waste Management of Oklahoma, Inc. for commercial and industrial trash services. Jonah.
Mayor, City Manager, City Council, thank you for having me this evening. I have Rick Paget from Waste Management here who you can address questions to regarding specifics of that procedure as we get into this. And then, I already forgot your name, George.
Jonah, real quick, we just, a little background, remember we came and said, look, we're talking about outsourcing some things so we went and got a consultant that specializes in this specifically, so that's who.
So I addressed some of the reasons we looked at this and agenda topics. I'll have to answer those questions as we go through this. I wanted to tee that up by looking for those efficiencies in our operations, as we've talked about, like we did last city council meeting. We did some things with water did some things with water that allowed us to focus on the maintenance side of things, which is really what we as a public entity ought to be doing, is maintaining our infrastructure. So this is another way that will open that up and provide better service to the customers, just because of the challenges as a public entity with trash service just presents everywhere. So happy to answer those questions that you may have regarding the agenda item as you read through that. I did want to turn it over to Brother Wheatley, Mr. Wheatley's brother Wheatley, I'm at church.
You can preach it.
Mr. Wheatley, to just walk through how we came to the decision with Waste Management. He'll run through that and then open it up to questions from myself from the city side, Waste Management side, or Mr. Wheatley, who is our specialist and consultant through the process, RP profit as well.
Awesome.
Rick, you want to come up here and run through them? There's some slides. They're pretty brief. I can just get them out of them. So. Thank you, John. That's your name, right?
I'm George Wheatley with Solid Waste Specialist. First of all, thank you for your business. We appreciate that. We're going to have a slide presentation. We've enjoyed serving the city of Claremore and particularly working with Jonah and other members of city staff who have been associated with this project. We were hired to put out a request for proposals for just the commercial and industrial solid waste in your city. The city has been doing it all, but you're going to continue to do the residential part of solid waste service. Let's go to slide number 2, Tim. Let's review the current commercial services. Right now, throughout the city, you have a little more than 550 2- and 3-yard customer-owned containers, and these are serviced anywhere from 2 days a week to 6 days a week per container. Also, the city owns more than 395 95-gallon carts, and they're also serviced from 2 to 6 times per week per customer. Roll-off service within the city of Claremore is provided by various firms that are offering various roll-off size boxes. The city itself only provides 16 cubic yard roll-off boxes. You have others that are 20 yard, 30 yard, 40 yard. Other companies offer these larger size containers, and that is addressed in the upcoming contract. Lastly, Claremore has 21 city facilities that the incoming contractor will service for no charge to the city. The city engaged us in December of 2024 to provide not only an RFP but also a contract and assist with the procurement of a final contract for the outsourcing of commercial collection. The kickoff meeting was held in December, where city officials gave SWS, specifically me, instructions regarding a new outsourced contract. We prepared an RFP. Hit it again. There we go. I'm sorry. We prepared an RFP. No homes are included, as I said earlier, and it is an outsourcing contract where the city is getting out of the commercial business and a contractor is going to take over, as we say, without skipping a beat. That is the whole idea of of what we're providing for the city to make a smooth transition, and those were the instructions that were given to us. All of the polycarts, all of the dumpsters, and all of the roll-off containers will be new to give a very nice uniform image throughout the city. Requested prices were for service by a rear load truck and containers or by a front load truck and containers. The vendor is going to handle this with one of these two types of trucks. Small containers currently serviced multiple days will be exchanged for larger front load containers serviced fewer days to reduce the overall cost to the customer. This will also reduce the wear and tear on the city streets and will reduce the overall cost, as I said, to the customer. All current dumpster containers will be removed by the contractor for a one-time fee, and they will be reused or recycled. They'll either go to a metal recycling facility or to a company that specifically does rear load service. All commercial services within the city will now be handled by the new outsourced contractor. There won't be other companies working inside the city of Claremore. You will have one firm responsible for everything that's related to within this contract. There will only be one rate adjustment per year, and this annual rate adjustment will be determined using the Bureau of Labor Statistics Garbage and Trash Index. This index only talks about solid waste specifics, landfill cost, driver cost, truck, containers. Doesn't include the cost of eggs or anything like that. Okay, future rate adjustments, and I think this is very important, cannot exceed 5%. If the garbage and trash index is 6.7, all the contractor can get is 5%. Okay, on February the 10th, a pre-bid meeting was held here at City Hall. 6 firms attended the meeting, specifications were explained, and questions were answered. They were then given a week to send in follow-up questions to allow the city staff to respond. We worked with Jonah to answer all follow-up questions. These proposals are very lengthy, and they were due early March, and 4 firms responded: Waste Management, American Waste, Cards, and National Waste. The scoring weighting criteria amounts to 35% of the proposal. SWS, our company, does not get involved in the judging of any firm's books. The city provided 5 individuals to judge these books. On the screen, you see the criteria that these judges used as they read these submittals. And I said lengthy, they're 70 to 80 page submittals per company. What you see is the way the books were to be laid out. We will run through these tabs quickly. They had to have experience providing like services in like-sized cities to the city of Claremore. They had to have the financial strength to be able to buy carts, containers, and trucks. They had to write a narrative on the people that they will have servicing the city of Claremore. They also had to give a written strategy on a seamless plan: when, how, and where, that has no big changes for the customers. Each proposer book must include federal OSHA safety scores. TRIR stands for Total Recordable Incident Rate, and DART stands for Days Away, Restricted, or Transferred. These are federal guidelines that each company has to be involved with. Then they have to give a detailed, this is very important, transition plan from getting the way you're doing it today to getting the way you want to have it done July the 1st. Next, how the company's customer service arm works, making sure the businesses in Claremore are tended to appropriately and quickly should they have a problem. And then, was the overall book put together correctly and clearly whereby it was easy to read and understand? Plus, and most importantly, had minimal exceptions to the RFP and to the contract. These 8 components amount to 65% of the scoring. I said 35% earlier, I'm sorry. 65% of the scoring. The last tab includes the pricing. That is the 35%.
What did you say was 65%?
The written, the book itself.
Tim, can you go back one slide?
All the stuff
I didn't see
outside
that
of
on
it. It's everything outside of that bottom line.
Tim,
Oh, okay.
so all of these components, counselor,
Together.
equate to 65% of the
Okay,
total
got it.
available.
Yeah. And you asked the very same question I asked when I first saw this slide, and I said, why don't we have a total out here of 65%?
Yeah, or 100.
We probably will next time.
So their safety records are only weighted at 3% of the proposal?
Yes.
It says what?
The scoring
it's a
process.
unique industry.
Jonah got a team of five persons here in the city, and they performed the work of judging these 4 submittals. Before the judging started, we had a workshop to review how the scoring process would be performed by the judges as they considered the written portion of the submittals. Judges scored 1 to 5 points on each of the 8 components you have just seen on the previous slide. Following this, our company scored the numerical pricing entries using extension data. We were provided by Jonah and the city the size container and the services per week for each commercial customer in Claremore. We then combined the 2 scoring functions, the book itself and then the pricing. This is a sample scoring sheet. We saw it a couple of slides earlier. As you can see, it was spelled out on what each judge should be looking for as they judged each tab. Where you see these zeros is where each judge was to put a score of 1 to 5. We call this a 2-step scoring process. Step 1, the written evaluation, scored by the judges committee selected by the city, has a potential of 65 points for a perfect score. I think I should say at this time that we have never seen a perfect score. Our company has done 25 of these RFPs for cities around Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And the average score is in the 40s to low 50s. The city, okay, step 2, price evaluation. The city provided our company, as I said earlier, a list of all commercial customers and the number of days per week that their container was serviced. SWS gave the vendor with the best, or we call it the lowest price, a score of 35 points. Other vendor scores were based on a ratio against that lowest price score. The 2 steps were combined for a total score. These are the 4 price submittals. You see rates going at the top left to right, rear load service, front load service, roll-off service, and then you see total pricing for rear load and roll-off if they chose to bid that way, total pricing for front load and roll-off if they decided to bid that way. To show how close this was, you see Waste Management came in at 35 points, National 34.41 points, Cards 32.40 points, and American at 28.02 points.
So they're not bidding on the,
They weren't required, if they don't have a front loader or rear loader in their portfolio, they're not required to, they can bid it either way.
Okay. Here are the actual results of your 5 judges. And note that no judges' names are mentioned.
I'll tell you who they all were. No.
tell me what departments they were from.
sanitation, public works, administration, engineering, and
Public Works, Sanitation, and Administration.
administration. So we made sure the right people that do this for us were involved in the process.
Okay. It's good to know.
And it was Stan, so it wasn't me. I heard 80 pages, I was like, I'm out. No, I didn't.
But honestly, the price was the lowest with the yellow. I mean, it's weighted so much higher than all the other stuff. It's gonna be very hard to.
It has the most significant impact on our customer base.
Yeah.
We have to be conscientious of that.
Okay, you can see the, again, looking left to right for each judge, they independently scored each company's book. You see from these scores the various opinions from the judges. The average written score down at the bottom is the total of the above divided by 5. Waste Management came in at 42.1. American came in at 47.5, Cards 31.6, and National 27.6. And all you're doing, back up one slide real quickly, all you're doing is taking the total and dividing it by 5. Five judges. Okay. Now, on the scoring, next slide. Now, on this slide, we combine steps 1 and 2, and as far as the written score, American had the highest at 47.5 points. On the, as far as the price score, Waste Management had the highest at 35, National 34.41, Cards 32.40, and American 28.02. The combined total score out of a possible 100 was Waste Management 77, American 75, 64, 62. The intent of this whole process, if you can picture a funnel, is to take the number of proposals and start to narrow it down to come up with companies that will be brought in to be interviewed.
Can you take me back to the prices just for a second?
Sure.
Okay.
The overall pricing score or this
Yeah.
slide?
Go, you can go back, sorry.
There's a question I always have. Go back one more slide. I always wonder, okay, the written score, the pricing score, we know how Waste Management got 35, they were the lowest. How did National get 34.41? You take the bid of Waste Management, divide it by the bid of National, and multiply that times the 35. And that gives you the 34.41.
You have an ordinal ranking, so you avoid ties.
You avoid ties. Okay. As I said, we're trying to narrow it down to bring in what we would call finalists to be interviewed. Joan and the committee decided to bring in the 2 high-scoring companies, Waste Management and American. For this interview, and prior to the interviews, the judges prepared a list of questions for each proposer, focusing on how to service the downtown area if front-load equipment was used, because historically this area had always been serviced by rear-load equipment. Another part was how the transition would work. Very important to the judges, how do we get from where we are to where we want to be without ruffling too many feathers and having our phones ring off the wall. The interviews were also designed to iron out any exceptions in the contract. The exceptions were actually minute, but had to be worked out, and that was easily accomplished. The contract was included in the RFP, and this gave the city and these 2 companies time to work out everything, and this has already been done. Both firms provided excellent responses to the questions asked, but American had a significantly, and I mean significantly, higher price. Waste Management had some transition dates that need to be worked out to the city's satisfaction. Both firms were given 24 hours to submit a best and final offer to address these issues for the city to consider. The recommendation is to accept the proposal submitted by Waste Management to begin service July 1st, 2025 under a 5-year contract that can be renewed for an additional 5 years if acceptable to both parties.
Did the prices change with the 24-hour notice at all?
Unfortunately for American, no.
Okay.
Slightly.
They did.
Yeah, but not, it was such a drastic difference that it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. And a caveat, just like every contract, so the attorneys feel, we will ratify and renew the contract annually. We are entered into a 5-year contract.
I mean, how much is the one-time fee gonna be for the people that are having to have this happen to?
It's $150 for us to remove. So we have a unique position, which is unlike anything I've ever seen as far as trash services. They own their dumpsters, each business, so we're offering to remove that for them. They can remove it themselves as well if they want to do it that way, but it's just going to be easier, so we're obviously have a cost to that, so Waste Management has determined that $150 to remove that for them and take it off the site.
And the city incurs that cost?
No.
No.
Waste Management.
Waste Management will, okay.
Oh, they're gonna, I thought, no,
the customer.
The customer will pay Waste Management. We will not benefit from that.
Okay.
Average cost on some of these that they have, these 2 and 3 yards, maybe $600 or $700. Most of them are decades old. They're not worth much. So to have someone come off and scrap them and pay somebody to drag them off is probably not feasible. So Waste Management will give them the option. We'll do that for you. If the customer opts to keep the dumpster that they own, it will not be serviced and it cannot be picked up by Waste Management or the city. So they'll have to remove it.
is there gonna be a fee for them to have a new dumpster?
No, that's delivered as part of the, it'll be
Okay.
delivered.
And then, but it can go up 5% possibly every single year.
Yeah, based on the CPI, the index, which is.
Have we ever raised this to the customers in the past?
No. If for us to raise our commercial cost to market, that's why we did this. We have done a disservice to ourselves and the community for many years. Our commercial rates are so underserviced or under market. Secondly, this division, the commercial, are trucks that, our side loaders are our residential trucks. They're very efficient. It's one person on. You can see everything. Our commercial division, you have a minimum of 2, most likely 3 people on a truck. It's our highest work comp. Those trucks are beat up the most. They're their most expensive machines to maintain. And we set ordinances years ago, specifically based on like hospitals at $1,300 a month. It's costing us $6,000 a month to empty their containers. It is not feasible, nor is it wise for us to continue commercial trash service.
I just know that their cost could go, so you're saying like, we could go from servicing them for $300 to they could go to $600 right off the bat?
Many of them will go to what the market is. If we stopped altogether and let everybody do their own thing, which was our other option, they're going to be paying thousands of dollars a month.
So for example, the cheapest option we have for a dumpster right now is $50 a month. Comparative under this proposal is $67.70. So
Yeah.
it's $17 more
But,
for a 2-yarder dumpster weekly.
so how much difference to the customer would the better one that the team picked? Like, what would be the difference to the customer?
You mean on the price wise?
Yes.
The other finalist was almost double this vendor.
No, go back. That wasn't-
Yeah, so American Waste's costs were much higher than Waste Management. That's what took Waste Management.
I thought it was only like
No,
$30,000.
the most common dumpster type that would have been used, they were almost double.
Okay.
Yeah. So we took that into consideration, what's going to be the least impactful on the customers and allow the best of service.
So there's no cost to the customer to provide the new.
No, they're delivered as part of Waste Management. That's
The only cost is to remove whatever is existing.
Yeah, and they can choose to do that themselves. They're just going to have to get off.
And we strongly consider, just like most communities, discontinuing commercial service. The challenge is frankly, I don't want 6, 8, 10 different heavy truck companies in our alleyways on our streets tearing up our roads.
At all different times.
At multiple different times with no guarantee of who's doing what. And so this is a model that's been utilized in other communities. It's successful. Waste Management is a global company. I think that's why a lot of their costs are so much lower, because their fixed costs from HR, payroll, corporate is all, whereas American is a great company and they scored very high, but they're a local, more Oklahoma-based, smaller, so they have to charge more in order to pay for those services.
Both great proposals.
Yeah, both were great proposals.
People.
I think it's usually not a good way to go against what, pick a team to pick a team, you know, to pick one and then.
Well, the team, but Counselor, with all due respect, the team did pick the one. They rated both the book and the score, so they chose.
So they did the pricing part?
The company submitted their own pricing. We don't tell people what they can charge.
But I'm saying they scored the pricing.
Yeah, based on the pricing, the judges.
The judge team did.
Okay, I was thinking that was just an automatic.
And the judge team was part of the interviewing, correct?
But it was 35% of the weighted score because it has the biggest impact on our customer.
Yeah.
So it obviously swayed the final decision for good reason.
That makes more sense to me. I was thinking it was done differently.
Nobody wants to pay extra for better trash
What?
pickup. Nobody wants to pay extra for really good quality trash pickup.
Well, like you said, I mean, even the difference between the $50 and the $67 a month, that's
an example.
Yeah, that's not.
They're going to be very different because we only have 2-yarders, so they might deliver an 8-yarder instead of 4 2-yarders. So there's going to be some efficiencies in that as they go through. And they'll visit each customer. We'll send a letter out explaining context. So there'll be some transitional months if council approves.
How soon will you start sending that out? Because you start July 1st, correct?
We'll send it out within the letter. Then Waste Management will be going around, Greg, if I misspeak, but they'll be going around individually talking to each customer and each one of the 500 or so.
With the July 1st start date.
That's when the
implementation
billing transition will start happening incrementally over the next couple.
Okay.
So are we losing any of our people?
No, we've been operating with temp workers for a few reasons. One, because we knew we were going to propose this, and two, that's one of our problems. We've had a challenge filling that, which causes significant disruption within all departments down there.
We probably 6 months now we've been using temporary staffing only.
So all temp workers, all those will be transitioned out to temp workers, but they have experience now. They'll be
marketable.
To be honest, it's very difficult for us to compete with CDL driver salaries in the private sector. So that's been the biggest challenge for us, keeping drivers on the commercial side. And again, the amount of workman's, I mean, you've got backup cameras, you've got somebody there that's directing them, you've got somebody driving, and we're still getting injured and hitting things, and it's just one of the most expensive operations we have on a per capita basis. And I think the one thing we haven't touched on, so I believe is what will happen, the city facilities, they will collect for free, and then the contracts, so they will remit to the city 10% of the gross revenues annually. To manage the contract.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion approved and second. Any other questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Cotta? Yes. Feldman?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Thank you, Jonah.
Thanks, Jonah. Great job on that. That was a long and arduous process, and appreciate everybody's work on that.
Covered the presentation well, actually. Item number 4, discussion and possible action on ordinance number 2025- is that 5? 5. Increasing the use tax percentage to 4% to align with the sales tax starting July 1st. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the council or the citizens voted April 1 to go into effect July 1st, a 4% total sales tax rate. We're adding 1 penny. So our use tax rate has to be commensurate with that or cannot exceed that. That is just raising the use tax or online purchase rate to equal the sales tax rate. So, Susan, thank you.
Have motion approved and second. Any questions? Call the roll.
Irwin?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Cotta? Yes. Michael?
Yes.
Feldman?
Yes.
Long.
Yes. Under 5, we are striking from the agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn is second. Call the roll.
Michael?
Yes.
Autumn? Yes. Long?
Yes.
Feldman? Bowlby?
Yes.
Irwin?
Yes.
Thank you,
Adjourn.
councilors. Okay, first meeting in May? Okay.
Is that under-
She's going to be in 35.